She had the vision board, the affirmations, the crystals, the late-night journaling sessions where she begged the universe for a sign. She read every book, listened to every podcast, tried every technique, all chasing one thing: alignment. And yet, each morning, she woke with the same quiet ache, a subtle anxiety whispering beneath every ritual. Why isn't it working? Why don't I feel it yet? That question haunts more people than they admit. Maybe the details differ, but the essence is the same. We've all been taught the same spiritual trap, dressed as wisdom: seek, and you shall find. But what if the very act of seeking is the reason you keep missing it? What if searching is the signal that tells the field it's not here yet? And what if the field, loyal as it is, only mirrors that absence back to you? This is the hidden glitch in almost every manifestation practice: the silent assumption that you are separate from what you want, that it's out there, waiting for you to chase it. But here's the truth: no one tells you. The search itself creates the distance. It affirms the lack. And in the quantum universe, what you affirm, you receive. This message is not about giving you another ritual or a more powerful affirmation. It's about reminding you that what you've been chasing is already here, already alive, already looking back at you. Because there is a shift more magnetic than any mantra, more transformative than any method. That shift is simple but radical. Stop searching. Become the observer. Let's pause for a breath and let that land. There is a reason why, when you finally stop trying, things begin to align. Why surrender opens the door to receiving. Why, the moment you stop chasing outcomes, they begin to appear on their own. It's not luck, it's not divine delay, it's resonance. The moment you stop searching, you step out of the vibration of absence. You stop broadcasting, "I don't have." You become still, present, aware. And in that state, the state of the observer, the field begins to respond. The shift is subtle but profound. You move from the identity of the seeker, the one who lacks, into the identity of the observer, the one who knows. And that knowing, that inner alignment, is what collapses potential into form. But let's be honest, that's not how most of us were taught to live. From the very beginning, we were trained to chase, to achieve, to prove. Society rewards hustle, striving, accumulation. We learn to look outside ourselves for love, success, peace, and eventually, even our spirituality becomes another form of striving. You meditate to get calm. You journal to attract abundance. You visualize to manifest the future. But beneath every practice hums a quiet belief: I'm not it yet. That's what the search is really saying, and that's what the field responds to. So let's flip the lens. What if the truth isn't that you need to find anything? What if the truth is that you need to observe differently? Because in the quantum world, attention is everything. Observation is not passive, it's creative. Scientists have shown that the mere act of observing influences the behavior of particles. This isn't metaphysics, it's physics. And it means your consciousness does more than witness reality, it shapes it. So when you stop searching and start observing, not with desperation, but with presence, you begin to access the real power behind transformation. Awareness without attachment. This is the sacred posture of the observer. The observer doesn't grasp. The observer doesn't force. The observer witnesses and allows the wave of potential to collapse into a coherent experience. Think of it like this. If searching is a clenched fist, observing is an open palm. And what do you think the universe places gifts into? You don't attract through effort. You attract through coherence, through alignment between your inner state and the version of reality you choose to perceive. And perception begins with presence, with stillness, with stepping back, not chasing forward. This isn't passivity, it's mastery. Because to observe without rushing, without grasping, without doubting, takes strength. It takes trust. And most of all, it takes a redefinition of who you believe yourself to be. The seeker is always becoming, but the observer already is. So here is the invitation. For these next few minutes, allow yourself to stop, not just physically, but vibrationally. Let go of the urge to get somewhere else. Drop the story that your dream life is far away, and begin to entertain the idea that it might already be here, just behind a thin veil of misperception. In the next part, we'll explore the science that proves this truth. We'll look at how your observation literally changes the behavior of the universe, and why the act of searching pushes your desires further away, while the act of observing calls them into form. But for now, pause. Let this truth echo. What you are looking for is already looking back, and it sees you now. We grow up inside a culture of pursuit. From the earliest years, we are taught that everything valuable lies just beyond our grasp, waiting to be earned through effort, struggle, or clever strategy. At school, we are told to strive for higher grades. At work, to reach for promotions. In relationships, to chase approval. Even spirituality, the very path that should lead us back to presence, is reshaped into another ladder to climb. You are told to meditate every day until you finally become enlightened, to repeat affirmations until you trick your brain into believing them, to visualize until your dream life takes form. The message is subtle but relentless. You are not yet complete, and you must keep searching until you are. It sounds harmless at first. After all, discipline and practice can create results. But beneath these rituals often lives an invisible assumption, an assumption of lack. When you light a candle with the thought that you must attract abundance, the flame burns with the vibration of scarcity. When you sit in meditation, hoping to find peace, you are broadcasting a message to the field. Peace is not here. The tools themselves are not the problem. The problem is the state from which you use them. Searching whispers to the universe that something is missing. Observing declares that nothing is missing at all. Look at how this plays out in everyday life. A person journals daily, filling pages with gratitude lists and affirmations, but secretly worries that they are forcing themselves to believe in something that still feels far away. Another person sits in long meditations, waiting for the moment of transcendence, but with every breath silently repeats, "Not yet, not yet." These practices, meant to open the door, quietly reinforce the feeling that the door remains locked. Searching becomes a loop, a ritual of absence. Science reveals why. In quantum physics, observation is not neutral. The very act of looking at something changes its behavior. Particles shift from probability into reality the moment they are measured. The famous double-slit experiment shows this with unsettling clarity. Light behaves as a wave when unobserved, a cloud of potential, but collapses into a particle, a fixed outcome when observed. Consciousness, then, is not a spectator in the theater of reality. It is the director. Where you place your attention determines how the play unfolds. And here lies the paradox. If your attention is wrapped in searching, the field responds by holding your desire just out of reach. Your observation carries a frequency of absence, and absence is what manifests. On the other hand, when you observe from presence, without the desperation to change or fix, reality begins to mirror coherence back to you. This is not mystical poetry. It is the natural behavior of a conscious universe. Your state of being determines what you collapse into form. This explains why so many people feel trapped on the endless treadmill of self-improvement. No matter how many courses they buy or rituals they follow, they still feel incomplete, because the field is faithfully amplifying the signal they emit. I am not there yet. The practices are not empty, but the way they are approached turns them into mirrors of lack. Searching for peace declares that peace is absent. Searching for love declares that love is missing. Searching for abundance declares that abundance has not yet arrived. The way out of this cycle is not to abandon practices altogether, but to shift the identity that fuels them. Instead of journaling as a seeker, journal as an observer who already knows. Instead of meditating to get calm, meditate as one who is calm, simply allowing that state to surface. The distinction may sound subtle, but it is the difference between waiting for reality to catch up and embodying reality now. The first is chasing shadows. The second is shining light. When you observe rather than search, you stop feeding the field with the frequency of absence. You step into coherence, and coherence is magnetic. The universe is not withholding anything from you. It is responding to the vibration you radiate. The question is not whether your rituals are strong enough. The question is whether your observation carries the signature of lack or the resonance of presence. This shift is not theoretical, it is practical. It explains why moments of surrender are often the ones where breakthroughs happen. You give up, and suddenly the call arrives, the opportunity appears, the healing begins. Not because you finally worked hard enough, but because you finally stopped broadcasting the signal of not yet. Presence collapsed the wave into form. In the next part, we will dive deeper into the physics of this truth. We will explore how the universe itself is built to respond to the quality of observation, and why shifting from the seeker to the observer changes not only your perception, but the reality that meets you. Quantum physics has always carried within it a riddle that unsettled scientists. The universe does not behave like a static machine, but like a living possibility. Before it is observed, matter exists in a state of potential, a shimmering wave of probabilities. The moment it is observed, it collapses into a definite outcome. This is not philosophy, but experiment. The double-slit experiment has been repeated countless times and always yields the same shocking result. What you see is influenced by the way you look. Reality is not fixed. It responds to the observer. The implication is staggering. If observation itself shapes the universe, then the quality of observation matters. It is not enough simply to look. How you look changes everything. An observation rooted in doubt or lack will collapse into a version of reality that reflects absence. An observation rooted in coherence, trust, and presence will collapse into a version of reality that reflects fullness. In other words, the universe is not mirroring what you want, it is mirroring what you are. Think of two people standing before the same possibility. One looks through the lens of fear, convinced that failure is inevitable, and their observation collapses into evidence that supports that belief. Another looks through the lens of quiet knowing, convinced that alignment is already here, and their observation collapses into opportunities and synchronicities. The field itself is neutral, but your consciousness tunes it like a radio. Searching is static, observing is signal. Ancient traditions hinted at this truth long before physics confirmed it. Mystics spoke of the eye that creates reality. Sages warned that desire creates suffering, and spiritual teachers insisted that the kingdom of heaven is within. These were not metaphors, they were direct observations of how consciousness interacts with existence. Science is only now catching up to what wisdom traditions always knew. You do not chase reality into alignment. You allow it to reveal itself through the state of your awareness. This is why striving feels exhausting and often fruitless. The seeker stands outside of life, grasping at a future that never quite arrives. The observer, by contrast, stands inside the flow, aware of what already exists, and reality reshapes around that awareness. Searching says, "It is not here." Observing says, "It already is." One keeps the field in suspension, the other collapses it into form. Imagine the difference between staring at the horizon for a ship that never comes versus standing at the shoreline and realizing the tide is already delivering what you need. Searching keeps your gaze fixed on the distance. Observing brings your awareness to the present, where the movement is already happening. That shift in perception is the difference between lack and abundance, between waiting and receiving. The physics of it is unavoidable. Particles respond to the act of being seen. They do not reveal themselves until an observer calls them into form. In the same way, your life does not reveal its fullness until you stop demanding that it appear in a different shape. Searching keeps you in probabilities, always waiting. Observing collapses those probabilities into reality, here and now. And this is where most people miss the point. They think manifestation is about pushing harder, visualizing longer, affirming louder. But the universe is not moved by volume or effort. It is moved by coherence. A single moment of quiet, aligned observation carries more power than months of desperate affirmations. Because in that moment, you are no longer broadcasting lack, you are resonating with truth. The shift is not dramatic on the outside. Nothing explodes, no lightning strikes, but inside, everything changes. You feel yourself rooted, present, calm. You realize the search has been a distraction, a smokescreen, keeping you from noticing what was already here. And as soon as you inhabit that awareness, the field answers. Opportunities appear, synchronicities align, relationships shift. Not because you forced them, but because your observation allowed them to emerge. This is not wishful thinking. It is the mechanics of a conscious universe. Observation is creative, and the quality of observation determines the quality of creation. Searching tells the field to withhold. Observing tells the field to unfold. In the next part, we will step into the human body itself. We will see how the nervous system encodes lack and how trauma teaches the body to keep broadcasting absence, even when the mind repeats words of abundance. Understanding this is crucial because it shows why surface-level searching rarely works and why true observing requires not only the mind, but the body to participate. If physics shows us how observation shapes reality on the quantum level, neuroscience shows us why it feels so difficult to change our inner state. The body remembers. Long before the mind learns to repeat affirmations or create vision boards, the nervous system has already written its own story, often shaped by childhood experiences, trauma, or years of subtle conditioning. These memories are not stored as words, but as sensations, reactions, and chemical imprints. When you were a child and felt unsafe, your body encoded that tension. When you were rejected, your body learned to expect absence. Over time, the nervous system begins to fire in patterns that reinforce the feeling of lack. This is why someone can speak abundance yet feel fear, or imagine love yet sense emptiness. The body's memory broadcasts a frequency that contradicts the mind's intention. You tell yourself, "I am worthy," but your nervous system whispers, "I am not safe." You visualize wealth, but your body still tightens around every bill. The body is not lying to sabotage you. It is simply repeating the signal it learned to survive. But until this signal is addressed, searching will always feel stronger than observing. The seeker's words clash with the observer's silence. Understanding this dynamic is crucial. Searching emerges when the body believes something is missing. It looks outside for the thing it cannot feel inside. That is why rituals so often fail to create lasting change. You can meditate for hours, but if your nervous system is stuck in vigilance, each breath is accompanied by subtle tension. You can repeat 1,000 affirmations, but if your body holds the memory of rejection, those words will feel hollow. The field responds not only to your thoughts, but to the entire coherence of your being, and the body's vibration is louder than the mind's. The real shift begins when you stop fighting your body and begin observing it. Instead of forcing yourself to believe you are calm, notice the tension in your chest. Instead of pretending you feel abundant, observe the contraction in your stomach. Awareness without judgment is the beginning of coherence. The moment you observe your body as it is, without searching for it to be different, you step into alignment. You break the loop of absence because you are no longer telling the field, "I am not there yet." You are simply present. This is the subtle art of becoming the observer. It is not about ignoring your pain or pretending it isn't there. It is about allowing it to be seen without needing to chase it away. The nervous system softens when it is witnessed. Trauma unwinds when it is held in awareness. Searching agitates the body. Observing soothes it. And in that soothing, the frequency of coherence emerges naturally. Think of the difference between two approaches. In the first, a person feels anxiety and immediately fights it, layering affirmations on top, forcing deep breaths, demanding that peace arrive. The more they struggle, the louder the anxiety becomes. In the second, a person feels anxiety and simply observes, a tightness in the chest, a quickening of breath, a restless energy in the stomach. Without judgment, they witness. And slowly, the body relaxes, not because it was conquered, but because it was acknowledged. This is the posture of the observer, an openness that allows the nervous system to return to balance. When you understand this, spiritual practice changes. Meditation is no longer about achieving peace, but about observing whatever is present. Journaling is no longer about forcing gratitude, but about revealing what you truly feel. Visualization is no longer about chasing a future, but about noticing the reality of your inner state. The observer does not manipulate. The observer witnesses. And through witnessing, transformation begins. This is why searching often feels heavy, while observing feels light. Searching adds pressure to the system. It tells the body that something must be fixed, solved, achieved. Observing removes pressure. It allows the body to unfold at its own pace. The field responds not to the force of your will, but to the coherence of your state. When body and mind are aligned in presence, the signal is clear and reality responds. To stop searching is not to abandon desire. It is to stop broadcasting lack. Desire can remain, but it is no longer desperate. It becomes an orientation rather than a hunger, a gentle direction rather than a frantic chase. And when desire rests in the hands of the observer, it becomes magnetic. In the next part, we will look at practice itself. We will move from theory into experience, exploring how to cultivate the observer state in daily life and how simple exercises can bring body and mind into the coherence that draws reality into form. Theory can inspire, but practice is what transforms. The observer state is not a mystical idea reserved for rare moments of enlightenment. It is a practical posture you can cultivate in ordinary life. The shift begins with awareness, but awareness must be trained because most of us are conditioned to slip back into searching the moment discomfort arises. Every exercise that follows is designed to interrupt that reflex and bring you into presence, where observing replaces grasping. The first and simplest practice is breath observation. You do not control the breath or force it to deepen. You simply notice it as it is. Inhale, exhale, witness. The mind will want to interfere, to regulate, to improve. That is searching disguised as discipline. Resist the urge. Stay with the raw sensation, the coolness at the tip of your nose, the rise of the chest, the subtle fall of the belly. The body begins to relax, not because you demanded peace, but because you allowed it to unfold. This is how coherence begins, through allowance, not effort. Another exercise is body scanning. Sit or lie down and bring attention slowly through each part of your body. Notice tension without trying to release it. Notice warmth without trying to expand it. Notice heaviness without trying to lighten it. Searching would demand the body to change. Observing simply acknowledges what is present. Paradoxically, the act of observation often brings natural release. Muscles soften, the nervous system calms, and the body shifts toward balance. But the key is that this shift happens because of witnessing, not forcing. You can extend this practice into daily life. Walking down the street, notice the sensation of your feet meeting the ground. Eating a meal, notice the texture, the flavor, the rhythm of chewing. Listening to another person, notice the sound of their voice without preparing your response. Each of these is training in the art of observation. Instead of rushing into the next thing, you stay present with what already is. This reprograms the nervous system, teaching it that safety is not in striving, but in awareness. A deeper exercise is the pause. Throughout the day, set reminders to stop for just 30 seconds. In that pause, notice your state. Are you tense, rushed, anxious, calm, curious? Do not label it good or bad. Simply observe. Searching would push you to change the state. Observing simply acknowledges it. Over time, these pauses accumulate, creating a new baseline where presence feels natural and searching loses its grip. These practices may sound small, but their power lies in repetition. The more you train the observer, the more coherent your state becomes. And coherence is what communicates with the field. You stop broadcasting absence and begin radiating presence. This is why breakthroughs often come quietly, without drama, as if life itself simply rearranges in your favor. You are not forcing reality, you are allowing it to match the frequency you embody. It is important to understand that this is not passivity. Observing does not mean you sit in silence forever, doing nothing. You still act, but action flows from coherence rather than desperation. The difference is profound. Searching acts out of fear, afraid of missing out, afraid of losing, afraid of not being enough. Observing acts out of alignment, clear, steady, calm. The same external action can emerge from either state, but the results will differ because the frequency behind them is different. Consider someone searching for love. They date with an undercurrent of need, projecting absence, and wonder why every connection feels unstable. Contrast this with someone observing their own wholeness, entering relationships not to fill a void, but to share presence. The behavior may look similar: dinners, conversations, shared moments, but the outcomes diverge. One collapses into cycles of lack, the other collapses into resonance. The universe responds not to appearance, but to coherence. Practices of observation are not about perfecting technique, they are about training presence. You will slip back into searching. That is inevitable. The point is not to eliminate the seeker, but to notice when it arises and to return to observing. Each return strengthens the muscle of awareness. Each return refines the frequency you emit. Over time, observing becomes your natural state, and searching fades into the background. This is the quiet power of the observer. It does not strive, it does not force, it does not beg. It witnesses. And through witnessing, life unfolds in unexpected ways. The door that seemed locked opens without effort. The opportunity that felt distant arrives with ease, not because you chased it, but because you stopped declaring its absence. In the next part, we will bring all of this together. We will explore the integration of physics, neuroscience, and practice into a coherent vision of how to live as the observer. And we will see why this shift is not only personal, but collective, why the way you observe reality influences not just your life, but the lives around you. The journey from seeker to observer is not about abandoning desire, but about transforming the way you relate to it. Searching keeps you in tension, always outside of the moment, always projecting the thing you want into a horizon that never arrives. Observing pulls everything back into presence, teaching you that reality responds not to your hunger, but to your coherence. Physics, neuroscience, and lived practice all confirm the same truth. What you witness becomes what you live. You do not need to force reality into form. The field is already vibrating with infinite possibilities, waiting for the quality of your awareness to choose which will emerge. When you rest in observation, the nervous system relaxes, the body returns to safety, and your signal becomes clear. From that clarity, life rearranges itself around you with less resistance. What once seemed impossible unfolds quietly, almost naturally, because you are no longer broadcasting the frequency of absence. Integration means carrying this awareness into every layer of life. In relationships, it means listening instead of projecting need. In work, it means acting from alignment instead of fear. In inner life, it means noticing sensations, thoughts, and emotions without demanding they change. Observing is not passive, it is active presence, a participation in reality that does not distort it with grasping. From this place, action flows more powerfully because it emerges from coherence rather than desperation. This shift does not end with you. Every human consciousness contributes to the collective field. Each time you step out of searching and into observing, you strengthen the resonance of presence in the world. You become a node of coherence in a network that desperately needs it. Your awareness does not just collapse your personal reality, it ripples outward, shaping what is possible for others. In this sense, living as the observer is both a personal liberation and a quiet act of service. The path is simple, but not easy. The seeker will return, whispering of lack, tempting you to chase. Yet each time you remember to observe, you return to the center, to the stillness from which reality is born. Over time, the seeker loses power, and the observer becomes your natural state. That is the point where life no longer feels like a search, but like an unfolding. Presence becomes homes. And so, the final truth is this: everything you sought is already here, not as a distant prize, but as the resonance of your awareness. When you stop declaring absence, you begin to notice presence. When you stop chasing, you begin to receive. To observe is to live inside the flow of reality as it is, and in that flow, nothing essential is missing.